Hi everyone, and welcome back to Up Next. I'm Carrie, I'm your co-host. I'm joined as always by my beautiful and talented co-host, Kalen. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, how are you?
I'm good, I'm hanging in there. It's the big game is today. Go Birds.
What game?
Oh, good question. I mean, who's to say? But today I'm excited.
Go Birds.
Of course, as always, go Birds. I'm excited to sit down with you for just a few minutes here and go over some projects that just came out that we're excited to listen to this week.
Awesome. Do you want to get started, or do you want me to take the lead today?
Let's jump right in, because I have something really important to inform everyone of. So this first album is about a historical event that, not everyone likes to talk about or remember. The album is called Shemp, Tropical, and it's by the Fred Karger Memorial Lump Band, and it's sort of a folk and no-wave album about the often forgotten 2029 assassination of Vice President Pete Buttigieg.
So important. I mean, this is just stuff that they don't really teach you in schools, and I think that we should all remember the 2099, you said?
2029?
The 2029 assassination of Vice President Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. In a really sort of sweet way. No, obviously this is like a concept album and kind of a comedy irony album. Low-key, that's the only way we can cope with all this shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just... it is, funny and self-aware in a way, but it's so earnest and heartfelt.
And it's so well done. The music is really good.
This is really freak folk at its best, too. So it's leaning into this absurdist concept and this sort of surreal approach, which the label it's out on Blorpus Editions does a lot of that sort of really weirdo, eccentric, off-kilter type of stuff.
We've seen a couple projects out on Blorpus.
It's called
Editions.
Blorpus Editions, so you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a level of irony to it as well, but it's I don't know, you almost want to say more like camp, because it does draw so much from real stuff. It's great. I really enjoyed Shemp Tropical, not only for its humor, but also because it sounds really good.
Yeah, love both. You have to do both. You can't just make funny novelty music. And
right.
It sounds
I feel like
bad.
this is more than that. Yeah. In the first track, they call it a podcast that sort of goes over the details of this fabled event that they're talking about. Which is cool. You get all the info, and then the rest of the album you really get to chew on it. Which is a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it. It seems like they have created this whole alternate history, future kind of reality.
Mythologizing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I think my first album that I'm going to talk about is Wish Defense by Fax, which you have jumped the gun and already put out a video review for.
Well, Michael wrote
the review. Yeah, that's true.
But no, this is a great album.
Yeah, I am so glad that Michael immediately sunk his teeth into it and put out a review for it, because it's great, just solid post-punk kind of post-rock stuff that is right up our alley. Also worth noting that this is the last album that Steve Albini engineered before he passed away last year. And it just has that classic raw and rugged sound.
Yeah, there's a griminess to it, almost an industrialness, which is really fun.
Yeah.
And I like the singing.
But it's still relatively minimal in its production. And each instrument just comes through so cleanly, and it's just a great listen. I loved the vocals and lyrics as well. It really every part of this just shines, and it's solid for fans of the genre.
It's fun. Is this the one that you were calling it's strangely angular, but it's also sort of laid back at the same time?
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It's sort of mathy and edgy, but
down.
I said it's a rounded rectangle. You know?
Yeah.
We have there's the corners are kind of blurry and softened. It's not quite shoegazy, but it kind of plays with that a little bit. It's not a super intense ride. It's it's pretty chill most of the time. I'm sure it has its moments.
Cool. Twins. Jinx Yomi Sodi. Is it time to talk about my next album?
Go for it.
Great. I'm talking a composition book by the Moles.
Yes.
Last week, Kalen talked about that solo so that solo project from the acid bath guy.
Oh, Dax Riggs. That wasn't last week. That was a few weeks ago. But go ahead.
detail that doesn't matter. No, you're right. And then, Steve Albini's last work as well. There's all of these sort of 90s revitalizations going on, I guess, and the Moles is no exception. This is some guy who we did look up his name, and I forgot it, who was doing stuff in the 90s, was said to influence artists like Kurt Cobain and the Flaming Lips, like just a good variety. And he's back. He's got an album called Composition Book, which is fun. You said it really well, that it's like acid cowboy music, which is fun.
Yes.
It's kind of a psychedelic country fusion thing, which is weird and interesting. I don't know if that is what the type of music he made previously. Maybe he's back with a new sound.
Makes sense for like an Australian band. I kind of get that vibe.
Because Australians have their own sort of way of doing country music as well.
So I think, was it Sturgill Simpson that put out that like very psychedelic country album? Yeah, like 10 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who likes that sort of thing. This one leans a little bit more into the psych and not as much trad country.
It's still definitely, I don't know. It's a little...
It's indie, but it also has a little twang to it and a little like honky tonk almost.
Right. That in my first time listening to it, I'm like, oh, it's not really tagged as a country album, but I feel like this is pretty clearly a country album to me. So I really enjoyed it. I'm not familiar with the Moles' work in the 90s, clearly, but I've been enjoying this new project by them. And we couldn't figure out either whether it's still just this guy doing his solo thing, because it was like they were a band and then they broke up, but he still used this name as for his solo work. But he might have gotten the band back together. There's many people on the artist photo.
There's a handful of people on the artist photo, but who knows if that artist photo is from like the 90s or if it's a current photo.
There's a little bit of speculating. We have no facts, but I can confirm the album is a good time.
The album is all bangers. So you heard it here first.
Hell yeah. Tell me about your next album.
All right, the next album I'm going to talk about is Mahave Louz by Jako Maron. This is a electronic interpretation of Maloya, which is the traditional and kind of politically revolutionary music of Reunion Island. This artist uses a lot of those traditional instruments from Reunion Island and combines them with this sort of like old school techno approach.
You said that's off the coast of Africa, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Do you know where? Not to test you in geography right now, sorry.
It's off of like the eastern coast, and I believe it was colonized by France.
Yeah. So all of this.
There's a very long history of colonialization and exploitation. Oh, what's that other
It's
island?
Off the east coast of Madagascar.
Yes, so it's
next
Africa, then Madagascar,
yeah,
and then Reunion
Mauritius.
Island.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's that traditional music influence, and he uses a lot of the actual instruments. The Bandcamp listing goes into more on like all of the stuff that's actually used. This is not something that
he's got like hyper specific instruments that were used totally indigenous to the area.
Very cool. And then also like 404s, so,
both at the same time.
And the beats and the rhythms are all kind of pulling influence from that Maloya music, but it works so perfectly in this electronic context. The album cover is also pretty sick too.
Yeah, I like it in the electronic world. I find a lot of like house and techno music and stuff does really well, kind of fused with traditional stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jungle had a whole moment.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But this, I think, has its roots in something a little more meaningful, which makes the album better and worth listening to, in my opinion. And yeah, we were talking about the sort of like tribal primitivist.
Yes.
Not. My brain is blanking.
We've had a few albums like it recently, though, of that like sort of
the resurgence,
primitive revival type of thing, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. We were talking the other day about the idea of the mono genre and like artists making music that appeals to the widest, I guess, group of people possible, like including bits of everything that everyone is gonna like. And this is like, obviously it does have the electronic influence in it as well, And at this point, you can't, like, not be influenced by pop music or whatever. But it's just cool to hear something with, like, these hyper-specific, hyper-regional practices, instruments, techniques, that still really resonates and is still really good and engaging the whole time and doesn't really have to settle too much for that to happen. Yeah.
And then, calling back to, furthermore, to the modern so-called primitivist movement, it's also really nice to see an artist who is, actually like a member of these communities who's engaging with this stuff and isn't just like co-opting it. It's adds an extra layer of meaning here that's like authentic and genuine and isn't this sort of like rehashed, commercialized.
We've talked about when the
racist caricatures,
white dude metal bands start putting on like the cloaks and the face paint, and it's like, dude,
you're getting a little
you are taking some shit that does not belong to you. So
this is great stuff in a cool way, a little educational too, because I there's so much history here about the music genre of Maloya, which I heard about for the first time reading this album description.
Learn something too. You don't have to settle for mono genre.
Cool. Yeah. That's all I have to say about it. Right now. I said a lot, and I'll probably say some more.
Later. We'll see. Later. Well, I have one more album before we get into a really fun segment that we have planned.
I'm so excited for our special segment. But go ahead.
We start answering the really important questions, so stay tuned. But the last album I want to talk about is the Arcane and Paranormal Earth by Ye Gods. This is an electronic. We were going back and forth with whether this counts as EBM, which feels
it has
nitpicky,
an EBM
but I
track
think it
here
is.
And there.
Yeah, there's an EBM-ness about it, but it's also just experimental electronics and ambient and stuff, all that good stuff, but definitely has an occult sort of fixture to it. This guy probably knows way more about me and could speak on it better, but spooky stuff.
Which is fun if you've been into Lady Gaga's Abracadabra.
Yeah.
Which
is bangers.
With her occult vibes. And then this is another nice companion piece.
Yeah. This is definitely more down-tempo, more of that EBM, almost witch house sort of thing, and it's really cool. And so it's a great album on its own, but what I really liked about it was this artist's statement in the liner notes about how they have a few albums out. They've been putting stuff out for a minute, but is like everything he's put out has like a twinge of irony or like needs a level of sarcasm to it, almost in a way like addressing the issues that they're trying to tackle, but realizing that is more like a shield and isn't like actually helping you internalize and like process stuff. And so this is the artist's sort of first step out trying to do stuff that's a little more sincere and more personal. And I think that is like highly commendable, and art does better under those circumstances. So yeah, very exciting to hear that from Ye Gods.
I'll throw in a quick bonus album that we haven't talked about, but if this EBM isn't EBM-y enough for you, I'll recommend the album Cage by HARLEM Electronics as real solid EBM for EBM snobs. It's just like really old school, good stuff for that sort of thing. But that's what the third album that I'm highlighting. I'm going to be talking about Share Your Care by Helen Ganya. She is a Scottish and Thai musician.
Yes, and this ties really well to your point on the last album about like tokenizing culture.
Yeah. She talked about in her previous work not really wanting to incorporate Thai influence into her music because she didn't want to like tokenize herself, or she uses the phrase specifically like the orientalizing gaze of the West, like how it's easy to be like, ooh, this is so exotic, and you know,
right.
But after her Thai grandmother passed away, she was feeling this disconnect from that part of her heritage. And so this is kind of her exploration of the grief and also using that as an opportunity to kind of reconnect to that part of her life.
Yeah. And if you've been actively almost suppressing sharing that part, I can see it being like a geyser once you open it up.
Yeah.
You're like, actually, I have all these memories, and I've been to Thailand and visited my grandparents, and I don't have a reason to go back there now because they're gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, have you lost that? Like, you know, I get that feeling.
And this is beautiful. It's really rooted in like indie pop as a genre, which is not something we talk about often. And but because it does have that like traditional Thai music influence on it, it creates a whole nother sound.
Yeah, it's like a level of richness almost. Like, yeah, there was something when we were listening to this where it's like, yeah, it's an indie pop record, but it's like there's like body to it.
Yeah.
It's very good.
And I was reading more too about the making of the album, and she collaborated with a lot of other Thai musicians who currently live in Scotland or the UK. To make this album, so it's cool to see this whole like community effort come forth. So great stuff, very somber too, and heartfelt and touching and meaningful, which are not adjectives that I normally ascribe to indie pop music. So it's cool to see.
And it's cool too that like the End of a Life has like inspired this whole new wave and like collaboration with so many people. It's like its own web, and so that's fun too, just like the life energy, the reconstituting of it. Really beautiful stuff.
Absolutely gorgeous music, lush and optimistic too, even though it has these deep moments of sadness because of the loss, but it also captures those beautiful childhood memories, and it's really, really good, and I liked it. Great. Yay! Did you have one more album, or is it time to move on?
No, that's it. I think it's time for our segment. Are you guys ready for our segment? This is something we like to call Is It Music?
Does this stuff count as music?
Now, again, we talk about irony and earnesty. This one is a little sarcastic because, to me,
yes, this is music. These are albums. These are all presented as music.
But these are all things we've sort of found that are more of like a sound art. Like there's something different to appreciate about all of these than you might get from like an album
that you would like
lyrics.
Sit down and like listen to. Not even just with lyrics, but this is
as an example.
These all lean pretty heavily into like the more fringe side of stuff that we cover. So Carrie, why don't you share your album?
Great.
Is it music or is it not? And put it to a vote. If anyone listens to it and you think it's not music, leave a comment and tell us why. It's not music.
Tell me why it's not music. Explain.
Because I'll go ahead and say that we do think this is music. It's a little silly. But
listen, I know people put comedy on albums. I know people put all sorts of things on an album. But I'm like, it's showing up on Rate Your Music.
It's on Rate Your Music.
It's on Bandcamp.
It's on Bandcamp.
Where else are they supposed to put it? Anyway, the first one is called PP11 Cut Off. PP11 Cut Off.
Okay. PP11 Cut Off by
Yan Jun. It's really fun. Like, you might be able to guess, it's just these little snippets of sound. It's called Cut Off, so you get the sense that they're doing the like sound and silence thing. Like silence is just as much a part of it as the music is, which is cool.
We're doing some John Cage type.
Yeah, and it's just these split up little chunks of something rolling down some surface. You could think of like a marble rolling down a table, physics. Or a frisbee rolling down a trail. Yeah, physics, inertia, movement. And it's just these little snippets that repeat for a while until it just sort of ends. And I think it's really nice and fun.
I had to ask you when you were playing this for me if you were pausing it or if it was just like that. Yeah. Because it is these very small moments of sound and then silence. And then something comes back. I'm like, are you like pausing it on purpose? What's going on?
No.
No. Okay. Cool.
That's how it goes. So that one was fun. But, you listen to it and you're like, are these different takes of the sound? Are they just replaying the same sound? And then you get a few songs in and you're like, wait, is this the same sound? I don't know. It's a fun little ride, and I enjoyed PP11 Cut Off. Tell me about your Is It Music contender, Caitlin.
Mine is called Axiomatic Rhythmicry by Jan St. Werner? Or Jan St. Werner? I don't know. And this album, I'm gonna read an excerpt from the liner notes because I think that really gives you an idea of what to expect. This is some real big brain kind of music. Operating through nodes and interstices, axiomatic rhythmicry generates spatial multiplicities, rejecting binary symmetry in its emergent behavior, rather reflecting organic and cognitive processes, proposing a multidimensional framework in which sonorous probability supplants compositional rigidity. You get that?
Sounds like some shit you would like. Sounds like some shit you'd read. You'd read that and you'd be like, oh, Oh, I get it.
I mean, it's let me you're like English please.
English, please.
So what this does, it also kind of does this like sound and silence thing, and it goes back and forth, but it is not symmetrical in the way that it does this, like rhythm, we're not operating within 4/4 or even,
a tempo.
Yeah. we're kind of rejecting normal ideas of rhythm and melody here.
Yeah.
Good night. And it's I think this might be not generated music, but like algorithmic music.
Yeah. So there's some way that it's figuring out when to make noise, but it's not steady,
or as they say so eloquently and concisely, coherently in the liner notes. Here, rhythm is constructed through a multivalent logic that transcends classical dichotomies such as accent versus gap or presence versus absence.
Kalen, do you know why you're important in this sort of niche we found ourselves in music?
It's because I can read this.
You can translate this because we read this shit. We go, sounds like that shit's for nerds. No thanks.
Well, this is for nerds. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm nerds. The nerds are in the room with us right now.
And it allows you to fully appreciate it. But I don't like when things sound overly academic. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So it is about this sort of like a linear.
Yeah.
This very like chaotic kind of process, but it doesn't ever feel totally unrestrained, but it's just enough. It's like the type of music that you would play for your dog to make it go. So play this for your dog and see if it.
We'll do it with Bobka later. We'll give you guys an update.
Yes, I forget some people do listen to this as an audio format, I guess, but you probably know what I mean.
Of course,
to make your dog do a little head tilt.
Yeah, a little whistle.
Great. So that's what I got as far as my is it music?
Is it music?
Yes, this is all music.
You tell us.
Great.
I love it.
I think that just about does it. Do we have anything that we're looking forward to this week? Do you separately have anything you're looking forward to? It's Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, it's Valentine's Day. We got tickets to a movie.
Yeah, we're gonna go see Possession 1981.
I'm excited. I've never seen it before. Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Our friends are having a house show on Thursday. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Can't reveal anymore.
Birds are going to win.
Birds are going to win. Manifesting a birds win. Go Birds.
Go Birds. I'm getting a tattoo this week. That'll be fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
On my arm.
Oh, you're Joan of Arc. Very cool. Very cool.
I'll show you guys that one next week.
Well, we'll have a whole moment about it.
What are you looking forward to? We basically just went through our whole week. Yeah, so you guys know what's up.
All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in as always. I don't think we've plugged it in a while, but we do have tapes and some tiny little merch items and a Patreon. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can find us on Instagram. Give us a free follow.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Subterranean Dissonance, which was the awesome music festival that we went to over the weekend. But we'll be posting coverage of that also on the Instagram.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of that. It was a great time. So cool. Such a crazy mixed bill lineup. And super fun.
This was the third year that they've done it. So if you were around the Philadelphia area or the broader tri-state area, do people say the tri-state area to refer to
the mid-Atlantic?
The mid-Atlantic region.
It's right in Center City. It's easy to get to. Yeah. It was a great time and nonstop and inside, which I love.
I love an indoor festival. I don't have to walk around in the cold.
In the winter, I like an indoor festival. Yeah. If it's nice out, I want to go out. But anyway. Cool. But we'll be posting coverage of that too. So keep an eye out.
All right. I think that about does it. You ready to go catch the big game?
I'm ready to go catch the big game.
Yay, bye.